Alright, into EG versus Fnatic. Right away we see a bunch of targeted bans in the mid lane and junglers. Not wanting to have Snoopeh on one of his favorite junglers, nor do we want xPeke on a strong mid laner. First pick up by Evil Geniuses will be Sona. Interesting choice there considering the number of strong champions that have to be in the pool. I fully expect to see an xPeke Kayle come out here, as that's just one of his signature champions, and Kayle is just so strong throughout the entire game. And her ultimate, as we've seen countless times, completely turns games around with its ability to save someone at low health, allow them to do just a bit of extra damage, and especially if your AD carry gets caught off. And a Blitzcrank. Wow, first time I've seen him in the LCS, as he's either banned or people just don't like him for whatever reason. But this is definitely going to be an interesting game. He's going to be a support, and EG here really needs another big pick. There's going to be a lot of them on the play, as likely a Twisted Fate could be here, Shin could be there. We can't actually see the final two bans, but a Jarvan would be a good choice here. Volibear, I think, is still going to be in the pool. But even with all those champions, I think they're still going to go with a Renekton, as they've kind of moused over it. And that's kind of been a flavor of the week thing, as Renekton is just really good lane bully. He survives the 2v1 lanes well, and he just kind of survives the entire game. Ezreal we picked up for a very safe bottom lane, and there's a lot of poke that's going to be coming out. Ezreal's also a good way to deal with Blitzcrank. Problem is, if you're going to deal with Blitzcrank by arcane shifting, you're going to be out of mana very quickly. And Leona picked up here, could be a jungle Leona. We've seen that a few times. But this is definitely a really off lineup coming from Fnatic, and I think Evil Geniuses is going to be very confused with what's going on, as I'm even a little confused, not knowing what's going to happen. Though I think we're going to see a lot of teleports run, as that seems to be Fnatic's order of operations, as they really love running teleports in the jungle, top lane, mid lane, and just moving around the map, trying to win the game by the 20-minute mark. And even if they don't win by the 20-minute mark, be up enough that you don't have to worry about the rest of the game. Volibear picked up here by Evil Geniuses. And for looks like mid laner, Anivia is still in the pool. Yeah, it looks like it's going to be Anivia. I would have said Anivia or Orianna. Those are both very strong champions, but it will be Anivia. And Volibear. Not a very high damaging lineup coming out of Evil Geniuses, but a pretty good lineup overall. They're fairly tanky. They have a good bit of everything. And let's see what Fnatic decides to go here, as I really don't know what their lanes are going to be at this point. Though I really couldn't even tell you. We've seen everything from Leona jungles as of late. Blitzcrank could be anywhere. I really don't know what they're doing, and I think Evil Genius is just as confused as I am, as this is definitely not the lineup you plan to play for. And Katarina is the final pickup, and I still don't know what they're going to be doing. I think Katarina is likely going to be mid lane, which would leave Kayle in the jungle and Blitzcrank top. Yeah, I guess that's how they do it. Is Kayle's a pretty solid jungler. Blitzcrank's an interesting choice for top lane, or especially if he gets 2v1, as he's going to be in a lot of trouble unless he can actually get a hook onto someone into tower range once he gets level 2. But yeah, this is definitely an interesting line coming out of Fnatic. They definitely caught Evil Geniuses off guard, and it's going to be a real interesting game, as we do have a Blitzcrank, and Blitzcrank Kayle means anything could happen, and there's a lot of damage actually coming out from the Fnatic side of things. So if they can get someone low, Katarina could easily just continually reset, and you can't do a lot about Katarina resetting. It's not like you can kill her off, as Kayle ultimately would be there to let her get a few extra hits in, and possibly that reset she so desperately needs. And yeah, it's definitely going to throw Evil Geniuses through a loop. I think they're still kind of confused what's going on, but once they actually see the lineup, I think they're going to be okay with it. Other than, it still kind of hurts overall, as you're still kind of wondering, what are they going to do? What kind of special thing are they going to try? Are they going to run some weird lane matchup? And I think they could run some very weird lanes if they so choose on the Fnatic side of things. They could even run a tri-lane if they so choose. just abandon the 2v1 lane, as they weren't going to get much farm there anyway, and go for a super ultimate kill lane. Even though I don't think that'll happen, they could go with it with this lane, as Leona Blitzcrank is ridiculously powerful. Especially if they have any other damage there. And yeah, I definitely think this is going to be a real interesting game. I'm still kind of shocked by the picks. And Blitzcrank being used in a non-support role is going to be kind of interesting, and I think we're going to see Fnatic invade. No reason not to invade when you have this lineup. This is like the best invade lineup you could ever see, ever. Evil Genius is doing the exact same thing. They're going to be invading the red buff. They recognize, hey, we're in a bit of trouble here. We don't want to get invaded on. We can't afford to lose the red buff right away. But no, it looks like Fnatic is going to back up after placing that deep ward. Both sides have that fairly deep ward near the red buff, spots out jungle aggression towards the mid lane, sees if you're actually going there. And it will be Evil Geniuses that get an advantage here, as they do spot out Fnatic near that red buff. Question is, will they actually go for it, and will we see a fight? Both teams are very close to actually fighting, as it looks like Blitzcrank might be forced down bottom. No, he's going to go ahead, as they do decide to run towards blue. Katarina is spotted out, and it means we are going to see a blue buff steal by Fnatic. Evil Genius is looking to be in position to catch someone when they come back. Question is, will they actually do so? Katarina getting very close. But yeah, it looks like Katarina will be able to spot them before any action does happen. And it looks like we are going to have a 5v5 fight here. Pink ward has been placed by Evil Geniuses. Looks like Miss Fortune's in a lot of trouble, as she's running the wrong way, but I think she'll be able to escape just fine, as she is fairly well hidden in that brush. And it looks like this is going to be a pretty big win for Evil Geniuses, as Blitzcrank is not going to be able to do a whole lot, but he's still in the area. Katarina does get an attack off on Volibear, and that means he will have to go back to that camp eventually, and no one is in the bottom lane for the first part of the game. Blitzcrank could get there pretty quickly if he so chooses, but he is going to be up top for the moment, as Ezreal and Leona are going to go play the 2v1 game, unless they decide to stay up there and actually fight it. I'm kind of surprised they didn't just leave the 2v1 lane up top, or 2v2 lane up top, as Blitzcrank does fairly well against Renekton, just because he's fairly tanky naturally, and just one of those champions that doesn't need it really any farm. He's probably going to pick up a bit of ability power. Kayle having to go back to base already, just not in good shape after that initial invade. And that really hurts Fnatic, because their jungler is going to be very far behind. And overall, it's going to be very difficult. Miss Fortune has actually picked up some potions, and she's going to let Renekton get a bit of farm, though Renekton has not actually farmed particularly well, as he is down only at 2 CS where Blitzcrank is, and had that lane free to himself for a few moments. Blitzcrank is level 2. The question is, will he actually get a good hook combo near the tower? I think he has the opportunity to, but Leona is up there and is going to land the stun on Renekton for a good bit of damage, and that's basically him being forced out of lane. He's not going to be able to stay there very long with Leona here. She has enough CC that the second Renekton gets caught off, he's going to take a lot of damage. Miss Fortune can reduce the effectiveness of every single one of those potions. Looks like Leona just out of range, as he's just completely zoning Renekton out. Does land the stun, and a few auto attacks by Miss Fortune apply that healing debuff. So incredibly important, as every single second with your potions ticking, that healing debuff really reduces your effectiveness, as you're going to burn through double the amount of potions overall, and it's just something you can't afford to do. Volibear is spotted out, returning to his jungle after a failed attempt on to gank Katarina, but Katarina was never in any real trouble. She has Shampoo, she has Flash, she has Teleport even if she so chooses. Blitzcrank going up here getting a little ballsy, as he tries to push on Ezreal and Sona and just get what last hits he can. He's doing a decent job keeping up with Renekton. He has a bit more mobility than them, as he has boots and a lot of potions. He did pick up that Explorer's Ward early, and has the Biscuit if he so chooses. Down bottom we see Renekton taking a lot of damage from Leona, and he is going to be forced out of lane here. He's still chugging through those potions, but it's not very good when all you start with is potions and you're almost through them, as I think he started with 9 or so potions and he's almost out. Leona's fairly low, but she did start with some potions in addition to her ward, so she's going to be fairly safe. Volibear going to come down here to the bottom lane and look to make something happen, but Renekton taking even more damage as Misfortune just comes up here, and it looks like Leona's going to come in here, and Renekton will be able to jump away. Leona not in tower range. She does have her flash. Teleport going to come in, but it should be canceled by Blitzcrank. Wise decision there to cancel it, as Leona's going to be forced back. Renekton going to be in a lot of trouble. Volibear not able to actually help out, other than just provide a little bit of pressure. He's going to come in here as well to try and do something down bottom. No, he's just going to recall. I thought he'd try to do something now that Leona's out of the lane. But so far, this is a pretty big win for Evil Geniuses, as they're getting more farm on their Ezreal compared to Misfortune. The only problem is Blitzcrank is getting a lot more than Renekton, and Renekton's out of potions already. He's burned through 9 potions. He'll be able to top himself off, but Blitzcrank has items compared to potions. That's the one statistic I'd like to see, is champions' actual item value instead of champions' health value, or instead of champions' total gold. As there's a big difference between spending 1,000 gold on potions and 1,000 gold on items. And that's something that's going to be a big difference as this comes late. Anivia flashes forward, doing a good bit of damage to Katarina, but she will not... Oh, she actually goes down. Last tick finishing her off. She takes just a little bit too much damage from that tower. And Anivia runs out of mana at the last second. Big win there by Evil Geniuses, though that does even up the gold, as it looks like there's just a bit more farm coming out the way of Fnatic, thanks to Blitzcrank doing a very good job of farming. Ezreal has decided to switch back to this lane after not having a good opportunity to push the tower, and it will be Blitzcrank versus Renekton up top. Not sure exactly how that lane goes, as we don't see Blitzcrank at anything but the support role as of late. We do see Anivia picking up that Tear of the Goddess, Hextech Revolver up onto Katarina just to prevent some harassment. Kayle not having gone back yet except to pick up some early potions, as she definitely needs to pick up that Madrid's Razor soon, unless she's going with the Spirit of the Elder Lizard, which is a perfectly viable option for Blitzcrank going. And they're actually going to lane swap again on Fnatic's side of things. They're going to send Misfortune and Leona top. They have a bit more sustain and mobility now, and Renekton's had to pick up even more potions. This is not what Evil Geniuses wanted. Fnatic is getting the better of this, considering how many potions Renekton's had to burn so far. Well, Blitzcrank has had to burn half that, and it's translated it into items. Leona with a nice stun. Renekton going to pop the ultimate and do some damage, as Leona's in a bit of trouble. She might actually go down here. But no, Misfortune just does a little too much damage. Leona jumping in, but not able to stop Renekton. And with Leona out of this fight, I don't think there's a whole lot Misfortune can do to really pressure Renekton. He's going to be able to sit back and get experience. He's not going to be able to get farm, but he's going to be able to get experience. He's tied up his CS with Blitzcrank. Katarina jumping in there, doing a bit of damage to Anivia, but no real big deal, as both sides are forced back. Anivia has been able to pick up the blue buff. Fnatic will actually have an advantage in junglers, as Kayle can continually pick up her own blue buff, and they can give blue buff to whoever they want, as Katarina really doesn't need it. It's useful on her, as she can just get a bit more harassment off, but it's not needed very well. And it's still going to be a fairly even game all around, as the score is almost even, with Fnatic up just a few hundred gold, thanks to the fact that they've last hit a bit better is what it looks like. And even then, the last hitting is virtually even on both sides. Renekton has gone back and healed up, or not, he hasn't actually gone back, he's just healed up with potions, but he is out of them again. He has picked up that Duran's Blade just to try and sustain himself with whatever minions he can get, but Misfortune's going to be able to just chip him out, as he didn't go for a defensive build. We do see Kayle coming up in this top lane, and it looks like they are going to try and dive Renekton, as if he does try and come forward. Leona has hit level 5, she's about to hit level 6, as she's just a little bit of experience behind Misfortune, and once they get that combo, it's going to be really deadly, especially if Kayle decides to come in and throw her own ult out, just so Leona can get those few extra seconds of damage onto Renekton. Down bottom, Blitzcrank is faring fairly well. He's basically surviving the lane. He almost gets a hook off onto Ezreal, very close, but just not on point, as it was really close. Looks like Anivia and Volibear are going to be starting off onto Dragon, and it will be a 3v3 at Dragon, as I do believe they spotted them out. They know exactly what's going on. Katarina is not going to be able to do a whole lot in this fight, And this is going to be a win for Evil Geniuses, taking the first map objective. Assuming Kayle doesn't get in there, but it will be Volibear taking it away with the Ignite. And it looks like Katarina's in a lot of trouble still, but we do see her going down to Ezreal here. But no, Ezreal does manage to save him. Blitzcrank very low as well. Leona there to protect them all. And Fnatic gets out of there after a very risky move going in that deep. A lot of ultimates and summoners were burned on the side of Evil Geniuses to actually try and get that kill, but no such luck, though they do secure about 1,000 gold lead here thanks to picking up Dragon. Misfortune not having a good time against Renekton, just letting Renekton farm it up, as he does have the ability to do a lot of damage to her before she gets away. But Leona's up here for a lot of damage. She does land the hit, and she is able to summon Renekton. Renekton going down here. He's going to try and do what he can to Misfortune first, but he does not have the ability to actually kill her off. But there's the barrier. Just enough. Will minions actually finish her? No, they do not. The potion too strong as she gets away with virtually 0 health. Perfect bait there with barrier. Towers are going to be traded, as the first tower will be taken by Evil Geniuses down bottom. And this will mean they have a bigger lead. That kill might not have been worth it if they pick up this tower. Though I don't think there was anything Katarina could really do to protect this bottom lane tower, as we do see her just harassing Anivia down. Kayle in the area as well to provide a little bit of support. And it's a 1,500 gold lead in favor of Evil Geniuses. Fnatic just a little bit behind in those objectives after giving up 2 of them, but it looks like we're going to see a lot of damage to this mid turret as Renekton's going to run towards the mid lane. A wise decision, as Volibear is going to be able to push the top tower. Blitzcrank not really getting involved so far, though he is going to be a pretty big factor in these team fights. If you can get a good pull in of someone that isn't Renekton or Volibear, he's going to be very effective. Katarina looking to run around and gank up top, but there is a very nicely placed ward that means she won't be able to roam too well. And it looks like Blitzcrank is going to come in the mid lane and push it out. I was kind of wondering what this Blitzcrank would go, and it looks like he's going for a support build almost, instead of going for an AP Blitzcrank, which is a rather fun build to watch. Kayle going to be coming in this top lane, but it will be sandwiched by Ezreal and Sona. Sona ultimate is just now coming up, so she won't be able to actually use it. And she just did not get there in time. Kind of surprised Fnatic didn't want to play Ezreal and Sona versus Leona Misfortune, as I think they would have had an advantage in that lane. But instead they're going to rotate down bottom and look for a blue steal, as we're going to see 4 members of Fnatic in that area. Pink ward placed there by Leona, which doesn't actually spot out that other ward, considering it is just behind the rocks. And with 5-man mid, let's see what actually happens. I think they're going to go for... It looks like, oh, Leona just off. Blitzcrank throwing the hook out, but no land, as Ezreal does get a Mystic shot onto Misfortune. And Blitzcrank taking a lot of damage. Both AD carries have backed up and picked up their BF sword. Anivia going for basically a pure mana build and lane sustain, as she has picked up that Hextech Revolver. Blitzcrank going to run around, and it looks like nice wall by Anivia means that she will actually be able to pick up the blue buff. Blitzcrank only grabbing a minion. Very big win there by Evil Geniuses, not actually giving up the blue buff, which Anivia needs in this kind of mid-game. Misfortune going to be duking out with Ezreal, but Sona is here. She does have her ultimate, but they will back up as soon as they recognize she's there. They saw her with that board placed near blue. And the rest of Fnatic is continuing to rotate around the map and playing aggressively. They've cut the lead down during all of this just because of how the minions have pushed the towers in both the bottom lane and the mid lane. So it's not a big lead despite being down 2 fairly significant objectives. But it looks like we are going to see them push this top tower. I don't think there's anything that Evil Geniuses can do at this point. Leona going to go there and does actually land. She does get the flash. Nice ultimate, and that is a dead Ezreal. Beautiful play there. Rocket grab means that is going to be a dead Volibear. And it is Sona getting very low. Nice play there by Leona, going in very deep. Katarina just harassing Sona here, as Renekton's going to look to push very hard. But I think Fnatic's going to be able to push harder, as Blitzcrank's the only one that has to go back after all of that. Katarina can still rotate around mid, and he does have his teleport available. Looks like he's going to use it to come down bottom and pick up that large minion wave. Beautiful fight there by Fnatic. Evil Genius is just getting a little overconfident, trying to protect that tower. They stayed about a second or 2 longer than they should have, and it really cost them several kills. Looks like Misfortune has finished off her Bloodthirster, as we do see Ezreal about to complete his. Tear of the Goddess Chalice and Hextech Revolver up on Anivia. Volibear going for that early Locket of the Iron Solari. Locket finished up on the Blitzcrank in addition to the Philosopher's Stone. Spirit of the Elder Lizard finished on Kayle. Renekton picking up the Giant's Belt in addition to that Doran's Blade. It looks like he's going for a Sunfire Cape. We do see Sona picking up the Doran's Shield in addition to the Sight Stone. Soon have a Philosopher's Stone. Leona with the Philosopher's Stone, Doran's Shield, and additional Cloth Armor. Misfortune trying to get on there on Ezreal, but Ezreal just backs away just in time. Katarina has completed the Haunting Guise and Hextech Revolver. Both teams fairly even. Fnatic has a slight lead, and it looks like they're going to try and push this mid lane. Will Blitzcrank go for a hook? He will get stunned in time. Volibear flinging him back, but he is just in tower range. Locket doing a lot of work there, protecting them from the harassment of Anivia. And without that Locket, Blitzcrank's going to have to go back fairly soon. He's fairly low on mana. Dragon's about to respawn, and it looks like Fnatic knows what's going on, and they're going to be down here and ready for it. Evil Genius is starting right away. Miss on the Zenith Blade. But there is a nice hook in by Blitzcrank. Hooks in Renekton, and there's a nice Misfortune ultimate dealing massive damage to that back line. Kayle going to get there. Will Kayle get off? No, she does not use her ultimate. Katarina getting in there, but not enough, as it is a 1-for-1 trade. Renekton for Kayle. But it looks like Fnatic's going to be able to do Dragon at the back end of things, as I don't foresee any real way to stop them, but it looks like they are going to actually back up. They thought they're a little too low. Katarina almost had several resets there, and if that was just a good play by Fnatic actually stopping that, even though they do come out a bit behind, as Kayle is worth slightly more than Renekton. They might be able to pick up this mid turret, and if they can pick up this mid turret with Misfortune, that'll definitely be worth it. Gives them a lot of map control, and they will. Now that's a big win, as that middle turret just provides so much control, and it's a good rally point for teams. Teams love rallying around those mid towers. Don't know particularly why they like rallying around the mid towers. It's just one of those things, but it's something they do. It's going to be hard for Fnatic to fight here without several of their key ultimates. Sona ultimate is still up. Katarina running in there, but not able to do anything. Ezreal is slightly caught out on the side, as he is now just regrouping with his team. Blitzcrank's going to be able to throw a hook, fairly blind, but a nice pink ward has stopped a lot of EG, and I think EG is just going to trade Dragon for that mid tower if they can help it, as that looks to be how they're kind of positioning themselves. But it won't be so, as Katarina does go over and clear the wave and splits Fnatic up this time. It looks like EG is going to try and get in there and catch Katarina, but no. They aren't able to get there in time. They're still just kind of positioning for Dragon, positioning for the mid tower, and it looks like Dragon will be taken by Fnatic, but they will lose their mid tower for it. An even trade. Though Katarina is still here trying to apply a little pressure, there's nothing she can do, as there was no real way to prevent them from doing that 5-man mid tower push. But they only get a tower for a Dragon, so no one really comes out ahead, other than there's a big minion wave stacking top and a big minion wave stacking bottom, which is going to be pretty good for both people. The problem is Misfortune's getting the minion wave bottom, while Renekton's grabbing the one top. And Misfortune's way ahead of Ezreal thanks to the fact she has 3 kills, and she's going to be picking up some big items real soon. And that's pretty much the only big difference. Anivia is slightly ahead of Katarina, and actually Leona's up about 900 gold on Sona. Kind of surprised, considering she's just gotten assists, where there were several other people to grab assists. But she's been involved in every single kill so far, and that's basically what you want as a support. Looks like we are going to have Blitzcrank going for the Runic Bulwark, as he should be able to pick up the Aegis of the Legion soon. Looks like Kayle likely to go with the Stinger into Nashor's Tooth next, and finish that out with probably some tankiness. Berserker's Greaves have been picked up by her as well. Volibear has finished off his Locket, as we do see the Will of the Ancients actually picked up on Anivia. Kind of a different choice, as that's not something you usually see people pick up. A little bit of lag there from the stream, but all is good now. As you see Ezreal finishing off his BF sword, and does have a Ruby Crystal. Not sure exactly what he wants to turn that into. His Misfortune looks to be going for a Last Whisper. Neither team at a big advantage here. It's still 2,000 gold lead in Fnatic's favor, but 2,000 gold lead at this point in time is not a whole lot, and it could easily be turned around by one good team fight. Leandry's Torment picked up by Katarina, as she's just picked that up. Teleports are up by everyone on Fnatic. Misfortune getting actually frozen in the wall, but a nice Leona move in, and ultimate means there's a dead Anivia. Perfectly played by Blitzcrank, and that's one reason everybody hates Blitzcrank, especially if you have some other CC to set it up, and Leona does a great job with that. Oh, Blitzcrank hook just missing as we get Renekton dicing away. Looks like the minion wave here will be able to take down this tower. I don't see Evil Geniuses being able to actually stop it. They have an opportunity to, but they really don't want to take the risk. It's a big risk if they want to try. Anivia is a lot of their defensive capabilities, as she just brings a lot with her ultimate. And they wouldn't be able to protect Ezreal as well. Blitzcrank throws out hook, but no such luck landing, as Misfortune might be caught out here, as she's in a very bad spot, but that means Ezreal is as well. Blitzcrank coming forward, he does get a nice ultimate off, and that is a dead Ezreal, as we do see Katarina snowballing through. And yes, she does pick up Sona, so she will be able to shampoo right across there, and Anivia helping them out with a wall to make sure her team doesn't pursue. Great win there by Fnatic. They've opened up a 4,000 gold lead off some really clutch plays, and a nice bait there by Misfortune. Blitzcrank coming in for a hook. Will he be able to land it? No, he doesn't even try. He was just a little too far. He doesn't have the mana to follow up either, as he's basically at this point. The hook costing a ridiculous amount of mana. But Katarina picking up some kills, Misfortune grabbing a few more. I mean, this is going to be a very big hill for Evil Geniuses to climb. And it looks like they are going to be just trying to clear out their waves at this point. They could have gone for a Baron, but I don't think they are confident enough in their damage at this point. Anivia just doesn't have a lot at the moment. She really needs to pick up that one big damaging item, which you like to see Anivia's pick up. Usually it's something like the Archangel's Staff, could be Death Cap, but you want that one big item of damage. Then you can kind of build tanky from there. Looks like we are going to have either Rylai's or Warmong soon to be up on Katarina. Stinger picked up by Kayle, as Blitzcrank finishes off that Aegis of the Legion. Last Whisper finished up by Misfortune as she picks up the dagger, likely going to be going into a Zeal. Leona going for a Warden's Mail, most likely with both of those cloth armors, which would be a great choice as there's not a lot of magic damage, and Anivia is not going to be wanting to hit Leona. If Anivia goes for Leona, there's a problem, or the rest of the team is dead. Sona picking up her boots, in addition to the Philosopher's Stone and Sightstone. Ezreal about to go for the Last Whisper, as we see Renekton finishing off his Sunfire Cape. And despite being down in farm, this Blitzcrank has done an excellent job this game of finding the pickoffs and being a real menace in team fights. And that's just something Renekton hasn't been able to do. He's gotten in there and done some good damage, and he's done a lot of pressure in lane, but Blitzcrank has just been doing more in these fights. He's got the pickoff on Anivia. He really helped secure that kill on Ezreal, and he's just really made Evil Geniuses not want to fight. Looks like we are going to see a bunch of pink wards thrown down by Evil Geniuses. Blue buff likely to respawn fairly soon, considering how well they're trying to contest for it. Or at least they're going to go try something. Sona might be the first to go down. There is a blue buff steal. Yep, right there. Sona going to try for it, but no such luck, as they just burn it down. Not sure who actually got it. Looks like Kayle did. And Kayle with a blue buff's a terrible, terrible thing for Evil Geniuses, as Kayle just does a lot of damage. She can have a much higher uptime on her ranged attacks, and we will see Dragon respawning right about now, as Fnatic is right and waiting for it. Not even a single ward here by Evil Geniuses, just being scared to leave their base at the moment. And Fnatic can split push a lot more effectively than Evil Geniuses, and that seems to be what Katarina has been wanting to do. Split push, come in once the fight's halfway over. Blitzcrank running forward, but he will be slowed by that lizard buff and not able to get there in time. His overdrive just wearing out. But he is going to be in a good spot here as he continues to chase. And it looks like they are just going to go for that inhibitor and the inhibitor turret, with Blitzcrank doing a good job of zoning him out and making sure people don't get the recall off as he does actually get Anivia across there, and Anivia's forced to flash, while actually hurting her pretty bad, but she is able to escape. Katarina able to take out the outer turret down bottom. Ward being placed, and Katarina should be able to teleport there in just a moment, as soon as the fight actually breaks out. Good pull by Blitzcrank, baiting out the flash of Anivia, and it looks like Fnatic is just going to rotate around and go for the easy towers instead of trying to pick up the inhibitor tower. Tower's going down fairly quickly as Misfortune just pummels into it. Blitzcrank just off the mark there with the hook, as he had a few opportunities to make it happen, but he just didn't have really good vision under the tower. Looks like we are going to see the top tower taken down by minions, which is a small win by Evil Geniuses. Towers are 3 to 4 as we see this siege down bottom, and I don't foresee Fnatic wanting to stop sieging at this point. They're up 6,000 gold. Their team is significantly stronger at this point, and they have the best initiation in the game, outside of maybe an Ash Arrow in Blitzcrank. Looks like we are going to see Katarina get caught out just a little bit, but she is able to Shumpo away. Leona not able to land the Zenith Blade and go in. In addition to Blitzcrank, they have Leona. So if Evil Geniuses try something, they're going to be stopped by her as well. But it looks like Fnatic is going to back up, wanting to pick up and spend their gold and not take this 5-man fight, as they really don't need to take fights at this point in time. They can just kind of split push, and with that big minion wave top, Fnatic has to send someone over there, and it looks to be Katarina. Her teleport is available, and that's one thing about Katarina's picking teleport. They don't need the ignite for the healing reduction. The extra damage is nice, but you really want that ability to come in late to a team fight, pick up those 3 or 4 kills, and really just snowball off of them once one or two people are low. Looks like Evil Geniuses is going for Dragon, but it is not up. They just now realizing this. Blitzcrank in the area, but is spotted out. And they are going to rotate around and see if they can catch someone in this mid tower, but Misfortune will be there. Her ultimate is up, should she need to actually clear it. And there's just no good way for EG to actually initiate outside of running in or a flash Sona ultimate, and good luck landing one of those. Blitzcrank not wanting to throw out the hook just yet, as his team was just a little behind. Easy does run forward. Will he be able to land hook? He does flash, but everyone jumps away. Sona burning her flash. Renekton slicing and dicing out. Good use of the flash there by Blitzcrank, as Sona flash is far more important than his. Flash initiations, while nice on Blitzcrank, are vital to EG's presence in this game. As Renekton jumping in, not a great idea. Volibear running in, good luck with that with Leona and Blitzcrank around. And they're going to have to catch someone with an Anivia wall, and that's fairly difficult. This just goes to show the power of initiation and what it can really do to a team. Riley's Crystal Scepter is now up on Katarina, as we do see the Runic Bulwark up onto Blitzcrank. Katarina is still rotating around the map, doing an amazing job of farming, sitting at 260 minions. That's about 40 more than anyone else. Anivia looking here, trying to catch Katarina out, but no luck, as Misfortune has now completed that Phantom Dancer. Ezreal going for a Trinity Force. Archangel Staff up onto Anivia, soon to be that Seraph's Embrace. And it looks like we are going to see Leona just picking up that Oracle's not able to catch that ward at first, as it's fairly difficult to see, especially it's placed right in there in that corner. Ward in the middle of the lane, as we do see Leona just continuing to ward clear. It's a good thing to pick up that Oracle's on Leona. She's not going to be focused in these fights. She's building pure tanks. She'll have a Rando and Zoman up in a few moments. Kayle with a quick Zephyr pickup, which is kind of surprising, as you don't see many Kayles pick up Zephyr as one of their first items. They'd much rather go for the Nashor's Tooth. A little bit of lag there, but all is good. As you see Blitzcrank running forward, and will he be able to actually initiate? He's going to go around, but no. He's just going to completely zone out EG. Looks like Katarina might be caught out just a little bit, but she is able to Shumpo away, as her team was right there backing her up. And this is going to be a fight happening, as we do see Leona jump in there. Nice hit, as Anivia is completely taken out of this fight. Sona ultimate only hits Katarina, but the ult is there, and we do see a big win by Fnatic. That's the power of Kayle. That Kayle ult saving Katarina, as she was really out of position there. She got hit with an exhaust, hit with the Sona ultimate, and she's going to continue to duel Ezreal around. She might not live here, but Blitzcrank is there to actually back her up and play bodyguard. This will be an inhibitor taken by Fnatic, no questions about it, as there's just nothing Evil Geniuses can do at this point. They just don't have an ability to initiate fights, and they don't have the crowd control that they really need to win anything. As that was just Leona and Blitzcrank really snowballing together to make it an absolutely wonderful fight for Fnatic. They're up 9,000 gold, soon to be 10,000, and Evil Geniuses just got caught out by that Blitzcrank pick. And they've used Blitzcrank to great effect. Blue buff has been stolen, as Leona might be caught out here. And yeah, she's going to be caught out, but it's going to be a fight if they want to actually take her down. Blitzcrank is in position to get a good hook off from the back line, just missing Ezreal as he stopped to throw that Mystic shot. And with everyone low on Fnatic, they're just going to continue to back up. Katarina will be able to push them away with her auto attacks, as it does block the Royalized Crystal Scepter and the high damage of the Liandry's. And this is Evil Genius' chance to shine. They can go pick up Baron, which I think they're going to go do right away, as that is their opportunity to come back in the game. Though it looks like they're not even able to do that, as they decide to back up. Their Blitzcrank had to go back. Katarina should have had to go back to base. But it looks like Katarina will spot this Sona here, and Sona is in a lot of trouble. Flash up by there, and we do see a quickly dead Sona. Kayle doing a great initiation there. And that should be a Baron pickup by Fnatic, as they really need Sona to initiate these fights, or have any chance of winning on the Evil Genius' side. And this is Fnatic showing their strengths. They take an unorthodox pick, made it really work in the Blitzcrank, and throughout all their aggression, they haven't let that many kills go. Blitzcrank gonna run up here, trying to get on Anivia, but Anivia decides to run away and throw out the wall. Blitzcrank was hoping she'd go right towards the mid lane instead of taking the safe path back. Looks like Miss Fortune's going to be able to solo Dragon here and bring it to over a 10,000 gold lead in favor of Fnatic. Fnatic doing an excellent job of controlling the map. They're going to be able to take this red buff and steal yet another buff from Evil Geniuses, as they've just not had any opportunities to do much. Leona's still not picking up boots, which seems to be something that the European scene does favor. It's kind of interesting, as boots seem to be one of the more important items on initiators, but she's initiated amazingly well without him. Blitzcrank here looking to go snag up this Ezreal, as Katarina is down here, and Blitzcrank hook does land, dead Ezreal. And this is going to be another inhibitor taken by Fnatic. Nothing Evil Geniuses can do. They need Ezreal's damage. They'll have a chance to stall, but stalling is not such a great thing against Blitzcrank, as he can make a fight happen anywhere, anytime. He has enough mana for one or two hooks, and they're probably going to just wait it out and throw them. They could go for a Baron, but I think they'd rather just have the inhibitor, as once you take this inhibitor, there's no way you're going to be able to stop them from Baroning later. Blitzcrank with hook lands Renekton, as he does take a lot of damage. Leona jumping in there and just continuing to assault Anivia the entire fight. Kayle ultimate goes down, and there's no damage on that Leona. And Renekton will go down here. Blitzcrank with another beautiful hook on Volibear. Volibear going down. Good game in favor of Fnatic. They're just going to go for the GG. No tank line for Evil Geniuses. And that's Blitzcrank for you. He's landed some epic hooks. This Leona pick has worked out ridiculously well, as she's really stopped Anivia from doing anything in these fights. And especially after Blitzcrank hooks her, the second she gets stunned by Leona, and that will be good game in favor of Fnatic off a very unconventional draft, but it worked out amazingly well. That is just the power of Leona and Blitzcrank. Well played, Fnatic. Evil Genius is just getting caught off guard, and they're gonna look back at this and know what to do next time. But that's been Fnatic lately. They've picked something kind of awkward, I'd say. Kind of forced the team into thinking, oh, that's going to be something, or that's going to be the jungler, that's going to be the support, and kind of swapping them around. And really just playing mind games, and it's worked out. They're aggressive, they have the multiple teleports, so they can be even more aggressive, and it's worked. Thank you for watching Games Cast by PanderNyrl. If you wish to see more, follow my YouTube and Twitch pages below.